Hi, my name is Thomas Gibbs with US Franchise Visa, and in this video we will discuss the franchise opportunity Martinizing dry cleaning with Joe Gonzalez, Franchise Director. Joe, thank you for being on the call.
No, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Thomas. Martinizing has been around for quite a long time. It's what we call a legacy brand. So 1948 was when it was established. And just to make a long story short here, the company I work for is called Huntington Company. And under that umbrella is Martinizing as well as other dry cleaning companies. And they bought Martinizing in 2014. And a lot has changed. So it's not your grandfather's Martinizing. A lot of folks know Martinizing from the 1 hour Martinizing, and it's no longer the 1 hour Martinizing. It is Martinizing and much, much, much more. So, when we talk about Martinizing today, I want people to think about what Airbnb has done to the hotel business, what Uber has done to the taxi business, what Amazon has done to the retail business. If you can think along those lines, you can get a pretty good idea of what Martinizing, frankly, is doing to the dry cleaning business. And so it really is a big change. And I'll talk more about those changes as we move along.
You're giving me the biggest cliffhanger ever here. You're going to have to spill the beans on the opportunity. So what do you mean we're changing it, becoming the Amazon, the
Okay.
Uber?
All right. So
Talk
when
to
we
that.
bought Martinizing back in 2014, the first thing we did was we did some market research because we wanted to find out, just what consumers were thinking. And so in doing so, we confirmed a lot of things that we already knew and some things that we had planned on doing to expand into different revenue streams. And frankly, it really boiled down to listening to the voice of the consumers. And if you understand the Airbnb thing and the Uber thing, the reality is everybody wants everything now, right? So your convenience becomes a real driver. And so dry cleaning really needed to come up to that point as well. And Martinizing is leading the charge on that and expanding into more technology that integrates throughout the whole system. So one of the big things that we've done, which is really big with millennials today, is an Uber type app. It's called Martinizing Delivers, that millennials absolutely love because we all know they love to do business on their smartphones. And it enables them to pick up and get their laundry pickup and delivered, as well as their dry cleaning pickup and delivered right to their homes, or using convenience lockers using an app. So those types of things had to become more and more a part of dry cleaning in order to bring in more revenue. Because frankly, look what Amazon has done. It's really taken brick and mortar and really challenged it, because long are the days where you can just sit in your brick and mortar store and hope that people come in. It just doesn't work that way anymore. If you want to grow volume, you've got to extend yourself to your customer and you've got to bring in that volume. So that's what we did with the app. But we also did some other things as well. And if I can kind of break it down, we made 3 big changes in the business model. And the first one is really we went to an all acquisition model, where we don't start up from scratch anymore. So what we do is look for cash flowing businesses. And this is the biggest appeal that our franchisees have in this business model, is cash flowing businesses day one. And so we go into a market and we want to make sure that it's a mid to major market, because that's what our inventory is, right? And so we will market to those dry cleaners, and based on the criteria of the franchisee, for example, income levels, geography, budget, lifestyle, we will search for a dry cleaner that meets their criteria. And then we will go after it and obviously close the deal and rebrand it. And, day one, you have a cash flowing store. So that's a big, big change. And so for people that are looking for cash flow now, or they want to replace their incomes, and many, many of our franchisees come from higher level senior management type positions where they were making 200, 300, 400, 500,000, and they want to get back to that, or they want to replace that. Okay, so our business concept allows them to do just that. Okay, we have to find the round peg in the round hole, of course, and there's no guarantees that we're going to find the exact income level. It might be one store, two store, three stores, but in essence, we've been very successful in finding the round peg in the round hole with multiple stores, because most of our franchisees do multiple stores. But beyond that, the second thing we did was we added all these revenue streams that I've been talking about, including the app, the Uber type app. And along with that app is revenue streams that reach out to the residential customers, commercial customers. And those things in dry cleaning are really not that new. The app is very new. The convenience lockers are very new. But what is new is the integration of all these revenue streams to what we call the hub. And the hub tends to be the plant store meaning the retail in the front, and then the machinery in the back, dry cleaning and laundry machinery in the back. And then the spokes, if you will, are those other revenue streams. For example, the routes that are commercial related, the residential routes, pickup and delivery to the neighborhoods, gated communities, the convenience lockers that appeal to that, again, that millennial market with the app included in that. And those could be in their apartment complexes. They could be in office buildings. They also appeal to a very professional market too. So we see these a lot in downtown areas. So these revenue streams, they all ladder up to an incredible amount of volume that adds more revenue to the hub, okay? So why is that important? Because when you have a cash flowing store that's already broken even, and then you add all this revenue from the routes, residential, commercial, convenience lockers, and the app, what you're doing is you're adding incremental sales to that plant store. So you're maximizing the production of the equipment, you're maximizing the production of the employees. That bottom line can't help but increase. Okay, so that is the key to this business. Okay, so that's the second biggest thing we did. The third biggest thing is we added all this technology to integrate it so that the franchisee could be in Aruba. Let's use Aruba because I certainly would like to go there someday. And just with their computer, they can see exactly what's going on in their business. They can see how much revenue is going to be picked up with the convenience lockers and the app. They can actually watch that happen as it's going on. Enables them to manage their business so much better than they ever were before. So this management staff is all about productivity and increasing productivity to increase profitability. And when you do that, you see a whole lot more numbers fall to the bottom line. And that's really what we've done for our franchisees. We've made them more productive. We've made them more profitable through this new business model.
Wonderful. That's a lot of really valuable information in a very short period of time. And it sounds like maybe Martinizing should consider changing their name to Amazon Dry Cleaning.
Well, the good news is that we know people are never going to have to dry clean, or put it this way, the internet will never take over dry cleaning from a perspective of production standpoint. So we're glad about that. Can't outsource it.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think that anytime a brand comes with a really powerful, disruptive way of serving clients better and increasing the top line in sales, it's a matter of time until everyone else is playing catch up,
Yeah.
which I don't think anybody wants to be in. So,
Right. I think you nailed it too. I mean, it's disrupting part of what we've done has really changed the way people do business and way they expect to do business. So, the reality is the mom and pops out there, and don't get me wrong, there's some really good mom and pops, but those folks that are not going to embrace the technology or expand or reinvest in their businesses literally are going to be left behind, which in some ways, frankly, it's actually a win-win for everybody, because if they're not going to do that, then we're going to buy them. We're going to acquire them. There are going to be opportunities for our franchisees to acquire, and obviously they can retire or do whatever it is that they want to do. But it literally is about grabbing market share. So keep it in perspective. We are not adding more dry cleaners to a market. We're literally taking market share. and we're disrupting it through the technology, through the acquisition, and leading the industry in the way that we're doing business, because nobody is doing business the way we're doing business. They may be doing parts of what we're doing. They may be doing just routes, or maybe they're just doing lockers, or maybe they have an app, or maybe they're just doing retail, but nobody that has brought it all together in one hub and spoke business model, one total package, put it that way.
So this all sounds great, but I got to take now the side of the skeptic and say, okay, we find this established location and we're going to basically integrate a lot of great pieces into the business, but how long is that really going to take? That sounds like it's going to take 18, 24, 36 months to really get that. Is it faster, slower? Is that a
Mhm.
fair estimate?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a question that, I think that everybody wants to know, is because everybody, once again, wants everything now, right? So, so if you think about it from the perspective of a startup, let's just compare it for a second. So if you were to do a startup, okay, you would start with a real estate team, and that real estate team would go out and start looking for real estate for you, and they're going to meet your criteria or attempt to meet your criteria within the geography that you're looking for, again, your budget, those things of that nature. And we're going to be doing the same thing. The only difference is that we're looking for a cash flowing store. Okay, so literally it takes the same amount of time. It takes about 6 to 8 months, I mean, on average, but we're going to find you a cash flowing store versus a store that is got to be built out. It's got to take, probably about 12 to 18 months to get to break even. So you have to weigh those two things. And certainly, when you buy a cash flowing store, you're paying for that cash flow, right? Whereas in a startup, it's just, you're just paying the startup costs. So those types of things are things that people weigh when obviously they look at franchising in general, but when they look at Martinizing and they see how quickly we can get to obviously their goals, which in many cases, cash flow now, that kind of gets people going and jazzed to the point where they're like, okay, as long as I can be involved in the process, which we want them to be, we can get this done a whole lot faster. Has it taken longer? Yes, it has. Has it taken shorter? Yes, it has. But if I were to average it out, it's right in that 6 to 8 month range of getting up and running. And if you compare that to a startup, it's in that same range as well. So keep that in mind.
So Joe, are you saying that if today was January 1st, that and we signed a franchise agreement, that we would have all the technology integrated by, say, August?
So if it's 6 to 8 months, yes. But what happens is, what you have to appreciate is that we do want people to walk before they run. Okay, all the technology is there, everything is there for them. But typically, what I see is franchisees will purchase the retail components first. We find them the cash flowing stores first, and many times they want to go after the second one and the third one very quickly before they add the routes. And so, why is that? Well, the biggest reason is because the cash flowing stores are cash flowing stores, right? Whereas the routes, they have to be built. And so many franchisees want to get that component done first and then add those other revenue streams, which are not difficult to add at all. One of the easiest ways to build a route in our business has to do with the fact that you already have a customer base when you start, right? So very easy to, when the customer comes in, Mrs. Jones, we notice that you're right in line in a route that we're building. Would you like to go to a route-based service? We can go right to your home, pick up and deliver. What we have found, based on our research, is that 30% of our customers will say yes to a route-based service. Now, why is that important? It's important because the route business the tickets are much larger than the retail. And why is that? Everybody always asks me, why is that? Well, when we go to a home, for whatever reason, people have this bag and they put more things in the bag than what they can take to the retail store. So for that reason, the tickets are bigger. And I also get the pushback where people will say, well, Joe, that doesn't make any sense. You're taking, obviously business away from the retail component. No, you're not. You're literally adding more volume to your business. And again, when you consider the fact that the route-based business has got such low overhead and such big margins, and you're driving the volume from the route-based business to the plant store, again, you're making everything so much more productive based on, the fact that the volume is creating more productivity in the plant and with the employees. So that bottom line gets impacted very quickly with the route-based revenue. So we strongly encourage that. That is part of the business model. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to do it, because it's the key. It's the key to the profitability of our business model, frankly.
Great. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, why not add on more revenue streams, increase your profitability, serve more people better? Sounds like a three-way win.
Yeah, it really is, because you got to think about, how things have changed so much. I mean, you've got the baby boomers, the boomer women in the residential scenarios. You've got the millennials. You've got the professionals. You've got more than just one type of customer today. And so you have to appeal to them in different ways. You have to give them the service in the way they want to receive it. And that is the listening to the customer came out of the research. You have to listen to your customers, and that's what we've done. So that is showing in our bottom lines and the success of our franchisees out there who are adding those and seeing the benefit of the route-based businesses driving more revenue to the plants and whatnot.
Great. Okay. So if we came in, Martinizing and ourselves, agreed that we wanted to move forward with a franchise agreement. Martinizing awarded that agreement. To get to that point, was there any training, or does all the training start, once the agreement is signed? And then what does that training look like? And then what does the ongoing support look like?
A really good question. And I've been doing this for 26 years, and I've been with numerous franchise companies, retail and service-oriented franchises. And I have to say, out of all the franchises I've been with, Martinizing provides the most support I've ever seen. And it starts with the acquisition team. So once people become franchisees, team goes into high gear and starts marketing to the zip codes that the franchisee is the most interested in terms of independent dry cleanings and obviously the acquisition. And we have several ways of marketing to these dry cleaners. And frankly, it's not that hard. What I found to be the case is that dry cleaners don't have an exit strategy. It's amazing. They don't. And maybe that's just specific to just a lot of small business people, but they don't think about how they're going to exit. So when we market to them and we say, look, we're Martinizing, we're in the market, we're buying dry cleaners, they're like, huh? Wow. Yeah, they at least want to listen. And so that gives us a lot of good traction. And if we can, develop a rapport, we're able to get P&Ls, we're able to get tax returns, we're able to get, POS type receipts to validate, obviously the numbers. So the acquisition team goes into high gear and pulls all that information together. They help the franchisee analyze financially every store that we look at. We put out letters of intent, and we also then close the deal. So people will probably see our acquisition team somewhere between 2 and 3 times, and then on the phone on a weekly basis, okay, going through the numbers, going through the P&Ls and things of that nature that people have sent in. Okay. Let's get to the point where we close the deal. Then we want to rebrand. So there's a rebranding process that goes on, and then we have a re-grand opening. So it could be a soft, it could be hard, but either way, our team is going to come out, and they're going to spend somewhere between 3 to 5 days there. And beyond that point, there is a strategic plan that the franchisee has with the help of the operations team. And layered upon that strategic plan is the marketing plan. Okay, so let's go back to the strategic plan. Let's say the strategic plan says 8 weeks after the grand opening, I want to launch my first route. And let's say that's the residential route. Then our team will come out and we'll spend 1 to 2 days literally launching that route with our franchisee. And then maybe the strategic plan will say 8 weeks later, they want to do the commercial route. And 8 weeks later, they want to do the lockers and the app. Well, every time you launch a route, we have a team that comes out. And the purpose of the team coming out is not just to layer over what they learned in training in Berkeley, Michigan, but literally we want to get them the business. We wanted to show them how to get the business. So whether that's the owner themselves or whether that's their number 2 person or their salesperson they want us to train, we will literally get in there in the trenches and get the business, because that excites people. That excites franchisees. And they see how, I don't want to say easy, but literally, getting these routes going is not hard. It's a time thing more than anything else. Because again, it's a convenience scenario and people are obviously looking for convenience. So when you ladder up all those days that we're out, I counted somewhere between 8 to 12 days that literally we're out in the field in our franchisees' town, supporting them. I've never been with a franchise company that has their teams go out that many times a year. So that's impressive to me. I mean, obviously, there's always a correlation between, royalties and support. And so that's the types of things that I challenge people to look at, because, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah. I've been in franchising a little over 10 years, and typically the initial onboarding process is 2-3 days, maybe 5 days, where the franchisee will go somewhere out of their market. I'd say that's probably 2/3 of all franchises is you go to corporate, you get the training, and then you go back and you implement. And that's been proven to work really well for a lot of franchises, but there's something about getting the training and the support from acquisition and from development of the business and from adding on more sales and more profitability in your location. It just makes it all that much easier. It's easier on your family. It's easier on that stressful period of time. Even if you're buying a cash flowing store, that still is going to be stressful.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Because it takes time to wrap your head around, the business itself, and you're learning and whatnot, and there is a learning curve. And that's one of the reasons why, we look for candidates who have higher level, senior level, if you will, management skills. Time, people, money. If I could summarize it in, 3 points, that's what it would be. And that, to me, when I look out there at the most successful franchisees that we have, they're the ones that build teams. They're the ones that enjoy developing employees. They're the ones that understand how important it is to build a team that's everybody's pulling in the same direction, because frankly, we don't want our franchisees working in the business. We want them working on the business. And, our CEO cracks me up. He's the funniest guy. And he talks about how proud he is of the fact that he's never ironed a shirt. Yeah. And his point's well taken. He hasn't ironed a shirt because he works on his business. He's built a multi-million-dollar business by working on the business. And so he challenges our franchisees, at our conferences and says, if you guys are getting sucked into, doing things in your plant that you shouldn't be doing, you need to stop and think. If you want to get to the level of sales volume, which is the level of obviously income that you signed up for, it's not going to happen if you're back there on your computer, waiting for the email to come. That's not where it happens. There's 4 quadrants. I talk about 4 quadrants of your business. There's the business development side, there's the marketing side, there's the employee management, and then there's the business management of the business. And each of those quadrants needs to have, it's certain level of attention. But if you look at it from the perspective of, those quadrants, it really helps you focus in on how much time you need to spend in each of those areas to be able to take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of franchises out there where you can basically go buy a full-time job. And some people want that. That's where they're going to be best suited. But
Hmm.
for someone that really wants to build a business and make an enterprise of it, this sounds like a fantastic opportunity for a lot of folks that want to really build a business.
Yes, it is. And I think that's one of the key things that attracts people is the scalability. There's a lot of scalability here. And the banks love us. They absolutely love us. Has everything to do with, they're looking to reduce risk as well. So when our franchisees come to them with a cash flowing store, they're pretty excited because they know this deal. They know the Martinizing reputation. We've been around for a long time. They just are more willing to do business with us because of the cash flow that reduces their risk, in the marketplace. And so when they come back to do another cash flowing store, again, it's just a matter of okay, this is historical. We're just going to do it again and again and again. So that helps us a lot. We are on the SBA's registry. That is definitely a benefit as well. But we were always working very, very closely with the franchisees when it comes to that, working with the banks and whatnot. So that's part of the acquisition team that works on that area. We have people who have been involved in the Small Business Administration for years and bring that expertise to the table. And it helps that we work with, same folks you work with probably, that know, franchising and know, retail. And that makes a difference when you're talking to bankers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to have competency, and if you can have profitability on something that you're trying to buy, it's funny how the conversation changes really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I've personally bought an existing retail business before and had SBA loans for it, and I was 23 at the time and wasn't worth the dime, frankly. And it all happens. There's something different in the process when there's cash flow and there's
Mm-hmm.
assets that are already attached to it. Um, you're obviously still liable.
Mm-hmm.
You are signing an agreement to make a repayment, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's the lowest risk also. When you look at all the business opportunities out there, you can go start your own business and
Mm-hmm.
invest everything, or you can buy an existing business that's already cash flowing and walk into that. So, why would you not want to reduce your risk and make more money faster?
Yeah.
Um, is it possible that we can just get a Martinizing app and have everything done through the app, or do we actually still have to go buy a business? Is that the being probably a little too humorous here, but
Mm-hmm.
you guys really are making a great job of making this advanced and
Mm-hmm.
lower
Well,
risk.
if there's a franchisee in the area, I mean, you could download the app, and even if there's not a franchisee in there, you can still download the app and see what it's all about. And I think that's you want to see how simple it is, and
Mm,
it has to be simple because people obviously won't use it. But we haven't even scratched the surface here with really with the app, with the convenience lockers. I mean, it's really truly like a ground floor opportunity because nobody's doing it the way that we're doing it. And the whole idea behind the way we're doing it is market domination. That's really what we're looking for. Because if you think about the business model, you've got the plant, which is the hub, and you have the spokes, which could include drop stores as well as the routes, commercial, residential, convenience lockers, the app. You literally are able to dominate an area with those revenue streams. If the independent who thinks that they're going to get 10 miles of radius is very much mistaken because people don't come any further than a mile and a half to get their dry cleaners done. I don't know about you. I mean, how far do you go?
I live in a very rural part of a town, so the nearest dry cleaner to me is about 20 minutes.
Okay,
Uh,
that's a little further than most. Yep.
yeah, at about
Mhm.
60 miles an hour. So
Mhm.
I would not fall into the normal category there. But um, I mean, the nearest dry cleaner is definitely closer than the nearest Costco.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, so that's
Yep.
for sure. Um,
It's all about convenience. I mean, you go there
yeah,
because it's convenient to other places, and
yeah,
that's the biggest thing that we're dealing with is consumer convenience,
yes,
convenience for
yes.
the customer. So.
Okay. Would you be comfortable maybe sharing a little bit about the numbers, the investment,
Mhm.
what that looks like in terms of buying the acquisition, maybe like a round
Sure.
high low?
Sure. And I'm going to base it on some averages because we've had some really big acquisitions. Last year we did acquisitions that were over $1 million. And we did three of them. Okay. And that's not average. Okay. The average acquisition is somewhere in the ballpark for a plant store. It's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of between 400 and 700,000. Okay. And that includes the total package. That's the acquisition along with, the marketing, the working capital. There's a van in there. There's 24 lockers that you start with, insurance, and all the things that go with the total package. That's the plant store. The drop store is less expensive because obviously there's no equipment in that back end area, and it's a very small footprint. It's typically about 1,000 square feet. But that runs around 130,000 to 380,000. Okay, and again, that is including the acquisition itself, along with all the marketing and working capital and whatnot. So we look for, in terms of the plant store, we look for people who have net worths in the ballpark about 600,000 and liquid about 150 for the plant store. And for the drop store, we like to see liquid in the 75 to 100,000 range and a net worth about 400,000. Okay, so kind of gives you
Okay.
some idea. Now, the one thing I
That,
want to mention is that we did something a little bit differently last year. We created an option that I want to throw out, Thomas, and that's what we call the drop store option. And so for people who want to like walk before they run, we will allow them to purchase the drop store first and add routes and marry them to a plant store. We obviously have to marry them to, hopefully it's a Martinizing, but if there's no Martinizing, we will marry them to a independent that has high quality. Okay. What that allows them to do is to work in a semi-absentee type scenario. So walk before they run. Whereas the plant store, that's just not possible in the beginning to run it semi-absentee. Eventually, yeah, a year or two later, yes, you hire a manager, you groom a manager for that plant store, and that's what we want you to do. Um, but the drop store allows those people who want to get in a less expensive way, less risk, walk before they run, and eventually back into, the plant store, which is something, frankly, you do want to do because that's where your control is. But you can literally build a big business just with plant stores and routes, and then eventually, again, transition into the plant store scenario. So that's an option that a couple of our franchisees actually took, and didn't do it on purpose, but it actually worked out really well. That's why we actually established it, because we found that when people look back, they were like, wow, that was actually a really good way of easing myself into the business and walking before I run, and it allowed me to keep my job for a time period that I wanted to. So just a different type of twist. It doesn't have to be 400 to 700,000 investment. It can be as low as the 130 to 380,000 for a plant store acquisition. So.
no, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I think for certain people that'll be a better fit, and other people I'm sure want to start with the plan. I'm sure that's the more common.
Mhm.
Uh, Could you maybe tell us a story or two about maybe a long tenured franchisee or someone that's maybe only been in for a year or two?
I've got so many good stories. Let me just think of, I'll pick out Grant Carson. He's one of our franchisees out in California. Um, I spent actually some time with him. I was out there on a franchise conference, and I spent some time with him. He's built a massive business with two stores and routes. Yes. And he really boiled it down to the people factor. And if there's anybody that really is a great mentor for employee relations and how to manage employees, it would be this gentleman out in California. He works his business 5 hours a week, and he has a business manager who just knows everything he knows. And Grant spends a lot of his time, frankly, mentoring other franchisees. He's at the point in time where now he gives a lot back. So actually, I do refer a lot of people to him because he is just the epitome of how to really build a business. And he made a really good point to me when I sat down with him. He said, Joe, you can run this business any way you want to run this business, really. He said the systems are all there to do it. He said, but I chose to run it in a scenario where I would have a life. And I think most franchisees want to have a life. This is a family-friendly business if you don't get sucked into, buying yourself a job. And to your earlier point, some people that fits them. But I would say the majority of the people that come into our system are looking to, again, replace senior level, salaries that they had, or they want to get back to. So he's a great success story. At some point in time, I think that, I like to have him on our staff at some point when he goes to sell his business. And then in terms of like people who have purchase acquisitions, we purchased and we helped the franchisee. This is a story that happened last year where the franchisee, really wanted a certain level of income. And once again, that's a piece of the puzzle, criteria. And so you can go at it a couple different ways. You can do it, 1, 2, 3 stores to get to your, your goals, or you can do one big package. And so, we were able to find him one big package that we negotiated for $1.2 million. And, he cash flowed where he wanted it to be. And of course, we don't want our franchisees to be satisfied with that. We want them to obviously build it and put the other revenues streams on so that you can create even more revenue and even more better bottom line. But, I think that's a really good example of the flexibility that we have in our system. And I think that's a key word because, it's not a perfect world. And, there's a lot of inventory out there. And there's different ways of getting there. So based on the franchisees, once again, their income levels, their goals in terms of, their lifestyle, how far out they want to go, and their budget. Those things all play into the whole package of, what we're going to find for them. And a franchisee who has a mentality of flexibility and doesn't get rattled that things don't go exactly the way they want them to go, because again, it's like you can't be a who moved my cheese type person. You just can't. You got to kind of roll with this and uncover a lot of different things. And sometimes franchisees will go through 2 or 3 opportunities that we'll show them, and that's okay, because we want people to be happy with what they have. And so whether it's buying, helping them buy one at a time or helping them one big package, I mean, we're flexible in that way. And the other thing I think I would like to point out is that there's 2 ways of looking at this. You can look at it from the perspective that, I want to buy cash flow and I'm willing to pay a certain level of money to get there now, today. Or you can look at it from the perspective of, maybe I pay a little bit less for a store and it's cash flowing because that is a requirement, but I build equity. I build it up and I build equity. And either or of those avenues are, great. We believe in both of them. It's just a matter of, again, which path does the franchisee want to take? I think both of them are great, but again, it's based on those 4 criteria that I mentioned: income level, geography, lifestyle, and budget. What those requirements are.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's rare to hear about and learn about a franchise that has flexibility and really is innovative at the same time, to the point where it's just. I'm personally very excited for the opportunity. Looking forward to telling many of our clients about it, because It's rare when you can walk into cash flow, have it be proven, and really and have good systems and support behind you from the training
Yeah.
all the way through. So
Yeah. And that's, a good point. I mean, that's what really people get excited about. If there's anything about our business model that's exciting, it's the ability to have cash flow day one and to be working with an organization that knows what to look for. Many times when people are looking for a resale, they're researching it themselves and they don't know the industry. Okay.
right.
Whereas, our acquisition team knows the industry. They will go in and inspect the actual plant. They know what to look for. They know if, there's equipment that maybe is on its last leg, and they'll say, hey, this is like a $15,000 piece of equipment, Mr. Seller, this is it's not going to work for us. So we're going to take this off the purchase price. And so that's not the kind of experience that you would get if you were on your own. You wouldn't have that expertise. And so that part of it helps give people the confidence that they're going to get the best deal out there. And that's what we go for. I mean, we're very fair. We're obviously, look at a lot of different variables to come down to, what the purchase price is going to be. But, the reality is the franchisee has to be happy with it. And that's the bottom line.
Great. So Joe, if we wanted to learn more about Martinizing dry cleaning, what would be the best way to do that?
Well, that would be to call me or my counterpart, Josh, but we both work together. And my number is 241-898-6344. Or you can get me at my email address, and I should probably shoot that over to you. You can put up on the screen, but it's jo.gonzalez, with a Z, by the way, at thinkhuntington.com.
Great. We'll add that into the description down below, so you guys can reach out to Joe if you'd like to learn more, and if you'd like to discuss franchising in general, discuss this interview more in general, you can also reach out to us at usfranchisevisa.com. Joe, thank you so much.
Thomas, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much as well. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll be talking soon.